The Canadian news media should not receive another dime from the Canadian taxpayer. The fact that they receive $1.5 billion a year at the CBC, well, they cover breathlessly any time that Trump is mentioned with Epstein, anything negative that happens with Canadian Conservatives, an MP leaving the Conservative Party of Canada. Meanwhile, the Liberal Party of Canada introduces a budget that includes a $78.3 billion deficit. We are in dire financial straits due to 11 straight years of insane Liberal economic and immigration policy. And what does the CBC cover? It's all negative on the Conservatives and photo ops with Mark Carney. We are propagandized unlike any society. My God, Russia in the 80s, Mao, Pol Pot would be jealous of how the Liberal Party absolutely controls the media in Canada. It is disgusting. There's not a shot in hell that without the 8 million people entering the country in the past decade, a ridiculous number, and the amount of propaganda spewed out, there is not a shot in hell the Liberals would have been reelected. It's a truly rigged system in Canada. And now we see Jeffrey Epstein again in the news, Trump included in emails as the Epstein files continue to be released day after day. And still, I've been following Mark Carney for the past 12 months or so fairly closely. There has been no questioning whatsoever from the breathless CBC, CTV, Global News about the fact that there are images of him with Ghislaine Maxwell, one of the most notorious sex traffickers in the United States over the past few decades. Not a single question. These are not AI generated. These are not fake pictures. These are real pictures of Mark Carney, the current Prime Minister of Canada, the man who spent his entire adult life outside of the country, the man who is looking out for his own personal financial interest, his 600 investments, over 90% of which are in the United States rather than Canada. $63 billion in investment have fled this country since he was elected. 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth. We're in a recession. But Carney's personal investments are up 45%. He's working on behalf of himself, not the people of Canada. That's never been more apparent. The number of conflicts of interest that this guy has is overwhelming, and the only people in the Canadian government who have the right to look into his conflicts of interest are 2 close friends. He's appointing close friends to the so-called infrastructure committee where they control billions of dollars. The guy's getting paid $900,000 a year, over double what the Prime Minister of Canada makes. The guy's insider dealing all over the place, and not once did the Canadian news media ask him anything about the images of him beside Ghislaine Maxwell. So you're going to report breathlessly on Donald Trump every single day. It's what you cover. You barely cover the budget. You might as well just go to whoever the senior most liberal media strategist is, and you know exactly what CBC's the worst, and they receive $1.5 billion from the Canadian taxpayer. You know exactly what they're going to show you on the news. Not a single question to Carney about his relationship with Maxwell, why he was photographed with her. His entire background is so dicey. Just look at the guy. Look at the guy speak. You can tell he's doing everything he can to deflect, to not be honest. He tries to get out of press conferences as quickly as he possibly can. Are telltale signs that somebody's being overly calculated in what they're saying and not trying to be honest with you. And that's all that Carney does. And he has images. How many of us Canadians, if we were to run for Prime Minister, have images taken with one of the most notorious sex traffickers of the past few decades in the United States and don't even get questioned about it? Not a single question about that. I would think it would be pretty relevant whether the Prime Minister of Canada has blackmail on him, whether there's information that people know, because he's certainly governing the country as though he has something to hide. He's certainly not governing the country in the best interest of the Canadian people. He personally has gotten a hell of a lot more wealthy, and then he gets out and he trashes Donald Trump and the United States of America every opportunity he has. Just the other day, he's talking about how we have why investment should come to Canada. And he's talking about we have the rule of law in Canada as compared to the United States. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? The amount of criminals and gang members who are actively working in Canada, threats against Anita Nun's lives, Khalistanis, importing Indian, Middle Eastern conflicts into this country. Give me a break. We have rule of law. The violent crime rates in this country have skyrocketed over the past 11 years. since Carney's been involved with the government. Look, we're in Canada. You see more foreign flags in Canada than you do Canadian flags. The idea that it's beyond the pale to be asking questions about why this man has several images. I don't know. Do many of you guys have an image with a notorious sex trafficker? They say the likelihood is relatively low, and the Canadian media refuses to even ask about it. Carney and his wife, Gary Busey, they look like quite an interesting couple there. You're looking at Carney's beady eyes. You can just tell he's not being honest with you. The way that he speaks in such a condescending manner to the Canadian media, when he does speak to the Canadian media, definitely does not seem like an overly trustworthy guy. So whether or not blackmail exists on this man, I would say is overly relevant to the Canadian people. Yet, what does CBC, CTV, Global News, this state propagandist present? Nothing but negativity towards the Conservative Party and talking about what a great job the Liberals are doing. Are you kidding me? Anybody who's lived in Canada for the entirety of their lives knows how radically and in a negative fashion this country has transformed over the past decade under Liberal leadership. GDP per capita, which is considered the best measure of how your average citizen is doing, has now, over the past 10 years in the United States, it has grown on average 2% a year. In the past 10 years, total in Canada's GDP per capita has grown 0.2%. Total. Carney's getting up here and just look at a map. The United States are our most important partner by far, bar none. And Carney is out here intentionally poking at the US, talking about how we have rule of law and they don't. Give me a frigging break. Carney has broken the Conflict of Interest Act on so many occasions. He's out on podiums deliberately speaking about companies that he has a direct investment in. GE Hitachi, I've seen him time and time again at press conferences speaking about companies that is well known he has a direct investment in. And he has the gall to get up there and ruin our relationship with the United States and talk about how we have the rule of law in Canada. We need questions answered in terms of his relationship with Maxwell, because based on what the vast majority of the Canadian people think, this man is not working on our behalf. This man is working on behalf of himself and foreign interests. He doesn't love the country at all. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member, grab some gear, donate. Fight for Canada party coming soon. Patriotic Canadians are standing up.